I'm looking at my son who's 24 years old. Justin's the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, and Mikey's the Chief of Staff. And I'm watching, the minute Charlie was shot, he called me, says, "Dad, Charlie's been shot in the neck. Please call every pastor and pray." I said, "Okay, son." He has wits about him. He was just directing. He had blood all over him. And
I'm thinking he's brand new. Maybe this was his first pastor gig, or maybe he's just a chaplain calling himself a pastor or something. But your response would have been something like, Charlie Kirk was a friend of mine. He was also a friend of Candace. Everybody grieves in different ways. Part of the grieving process is what Candace is currently going through. Whether what she is chasing down or what she is pursuing is true or not is not for any of us to say, because as the feds admit, nobody has all the facts. We support Candace in this time, as I'm sure Charlie would want us to, since Candace was a friend of Charlie's. We encourage Candace to go through all the phases of mourning and know that we are here for her throughout the entire process, and we are waiting with open arms once that process has resolved itself. Really simple.
People thought the chaos inside TPUSA had finally settled until Pastor Rob McKoy opened his mouth and dropped a comment so unexpected it sent Erika Kirk and the Chief of Staff spiraling.
So it seems like somebody's lying. New footage has been circulating showing Turning Point's Chief of Staff Mikey McKoy's odd reaction right after Charlie Kirk got shot. Right after Charlie Kirk got shot, Mikey McKoy can be seen plugging his ears and instantly turning around and walking away slowly. People are noticing that he's on a cell phone talking to somebody. And this is kind of odd because everybody else around there is running and ducking for cover. And so it begs the question, who was Mikey talking to on the cell phone? Mikey's father, Pastor Rob McKoy, claims that Mikey called him right after Charlie got shot. Take a listen.
I'm looking at my son who's 24 years old. Justin's the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, and Mikey's the Chief of Staff. And I'm watching, the minute Charlie was shot, he called me, says, "Dad, Charlie's been shot in the neck. Please call every pastor and pray." I said, "Okay, son." He has wits about him. He was just directing. He had blood all over him. And
Pastor Rob McKoy also claims that Mikey is covered in blood. But that's odd because Mikey quickly turned and walked away without even looking underneath the tent to see if Charlie was okay. According to James Lee's investigation, Mikey McKoy called Erika Kirk, and this is per the New York Times. Check this out.
Who was he calling? Well, I did some digging, and according to the New York Times, it was one Erika Kirk. Quote, Miss Kirk was sitting in her mother's hospital room at 11:23 a.m. local time in Phoenix when she saw the number of her husband's longtime assistant, Michael McKoy, appear on her phone. In retrospect, she said she knew the words, "He's been shot," before Mr. McKoy screamed them. According to official records, Charlie Kirk was shot at 12:23 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 11:23 in Phoenix. So if the New York Times is being 100% accurate, the only person that Mikey could have been on the phone with is Erika.
So who was Mikey McKoy really talking to? And why did he just walk away so calmly right after his friend got shot?
The moment he said it, you could almost feel the temperature shift, like he'd cracked open a door everyone else spent months trying to weld shut. And the wildest part? He didn't even seem to realize what he'd revealed. It came out casually, almost offhand, the way someone accidentally mentions a secret they forgot was supposed to stay buried. The clip spread fast. Too fast. Within hours, people online were replaying those 15 seconds frame by frame, pointing out every pause, every look, every tiny slip that hinted at something deeper. Suddenly, Erika was trending.
I've been watching Erika Kirk, and I don't mean like one clip, right? I mean watching her, watching how she moves, how she positions herself, how she's being used. And I can't lie, it's getting weird. Because when your public grief starts looking like an Adam and Eve commercial, that's not faith. That's branding. And it's gross. And the wild part is she's not being objectified. She's participating. She's found her place in the performance. The beautiful believer, the holy widow, the vessel for the message. Erika Kirk figured out how to turn devotion into influence. Not the loud kind, though. The curated, palatable kind. You know, the one that makes far-right politics look gentle. She wraps white Christian nationalism in soft femininity, in perfectly timed tears and God's plan captions. And the people around her are eating it up. Because every movement like this needs a face. Someone who makes extremism look nurturing instead of dangerous. She's not on stage with men like J.D. Vance by accident. She's there because she makes his ideology look marketable. She's proof that the patriarchy will always find a woman to front the campaign. But real talk, since her husband died, she's been everywhere. Podcasts, conferences, stages. Grieving publicly in a way that doesn't feel accidental. Because grief sells when it looks holy. When it sounds like faith instead of fury. That hug with Donald Trump, that wasn't a spiritual moment. That was a moment designed to make people feel safe with him. Because nothing says redemption like a woman weeping in your arms, right? And whether she realizes it or not, she's become the emotional shield of a movement. She absorbs the criticism, softens the image, right? She sanctifies the message. So here's the thing, Erika Kirk is not naive. She is strategic. But when your brand becomes a faith-based fairy tale, you start serving a system that'll never serve you back. Because to them, she's only as valuable as her pain. The second she stops crying on cue, the second she stops being useful, they'll find another soft-spoken believer to stand in that same light and call it revival. That's how these movements work. They sanctify women's suffering as proof of men's virtue. So yeah, I've been watching Erika Kirk, and the more I see, the clearer it gets. This isn't about faith, this is about optics. She's not spreading Christianity, she's selling comfort. All for a movement built on control. And one day, because it will come, the day when she stops fitting that narrative, the same hands holding her up are going to drop her. Because in that world, women like Erika aren't partners, they're props. And props are always replaceable.
Mikey, the chief of staff, was being tagged in threads he definitely didn't want to see. And speculation exploded into a storm. Whispers turned into theories. Theories turned into accusations. And those accusations, they started connecting dots that were never meant to touch. But the real story didn't start with the slip. It started before that, long before anyone realized how tightly certain people tried to control the narrative after Charlie's passing. Because if you trace the timeline back just a little, the first cracks didn't appear during Pastor Rob's comment. They appeared when TPUSA's inner circle started acting like they knew something the public wasn't supposed to figure out. And once you see those early signs, everything that came after suddenly makes a lot more sense.
Would Charlie have forgiven his killer?
He's in heaven. And he sees everything, full picture. And I truly believe that if the Lord, which this does not happen, but if the Lord gave him an option to return back to earth, and if the Lord said, this is what your death is going to be the catalyst for, do you want to go back and exchange it? He'd say no.
Wow.
He'd say no.
Hey, so, this was weird, yeah? Come here, guys. Can we talk privately? That was pretty weird, huh? Hey, Republicans, come here. You don't gotta tell anybody this. That was pretty weird, right? You wanna watch it again? Sure.
And if the Lord said, do you want to go back? He'd say no.
Wow.
He'd say no.
He'd look God right in the face and he'd say, no.
Yeah? He'd stay dead?
If he knew what his death would be a catalyst for, what, all the memes?
I don't want to see Erika Kirk trotted out on Jesse Waters politicizing her husband's death again. I'm not going to sit here and act like that's not performative bullshit. I'm not. I can't.
And I'm not saying she's not grieving, but we all watched this same clip together. What happened to Charlie was horrible, whether you with them or not. You guys know I don't like them. And I don't want to critique the grieving, but
What choice do I have?
not even on some conspiracy theory shit like I could be. Dude, if I was Charlie, I would be pissed.
To understand why Pastor Rob's slip hit like a grenade, you have to look at the people standing closest to the blast. and the strange dynamic that's had people whispering for months. See, online chatter has been pointing out something most viewers completely missed. Pastor Rob McKoy isn't just some distant mentor or friendly advisor. He's Mikey McKoy's father. And Mikey isn't just any staff member. He's the chief of staff, the guy glued to every major decision and every closed-door conversation inside TPUSA. That connection alone was enough to get people talking. But once Pastor Rob made that offhand remark, the speculation doubled overnight. Because suddenly the question wasn't just, why did he say that? It became, how much did he know and how long had he known it? A pastor talking is one thing. A pastor with a son at the center of the organization? That's a completely different storm. And here's where things get even more tangled. Folks online began digging through old clips, appearances, and interviews, noticing moments where Erika, Mikey, and Pastor Rob seemed a little too coordinated, as if everyone was reading from the same script until he accidentally drifted off it. It didn't help that some insiders claimed the leadership shuffle after Charlie's passing felt unusually smooth, almost pre-planned, fueling theories that certain conversations had been happening long before anyone on the outside even sensed trouble. But the real tension? It started when viewers realized the slip didn't just expose information, it exposed relationships.
What I think is happening is you're going to see J.D. Vance's wife disappear soon. Some way, shape, or form. They're going to get a divorce, something. He's going to marry Erika Kirk and solidify the base.
Wow.
Mark my words. Because think about that. And also think about the other thing. I mean, the rumors floating around that now that Charlie's not there, they took the $150 million that they offered Charlie that he turned down.
So is she supposed to be, yeah, I know what you're talking about. So is she supposed to be the leader of
She is the leader.
She's the leader
Yeah.
and the voice of Turning Point as of right now.
Now think about Turning Point for a minute. Okay, since we're talking about the traveling tiny hats. They funded Turning Point USA as a street team, basically. They ran through the colleges and promoted the agenda.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So when Charlie Kirk got to a certain point and then started to question Dad slapped the shit out of him.
Yeah.
But now that he's gone, all the policies are reverting back to pre-Charlie talking shit.
And when personal ties mix with organizational power, the margin for accidents gets razor thin. What people uncovered next didn't calm anything down. It only made the timeline look stranger. What really sent the internet spiraling wasn't just what Pastor Rob said. It was how casually he said it. Viewers who replayed the clip swear there was this tiny pause, like he realized mid-sentence that he was drifting into territory people inside TPUSA allegedly never wanted out in the open. And once that moment hit social media, the rumor mill didn't just spin, it caught fire. Comments flooded in instantly. Some users claimed Pastor Rob's wording hinted at a pre-planned sequence of decisions inside the organization, the kind of thing that sounds ordinary until you compare it to how chaotic the public timeline appeared. Others pointed out the strange timing.
Why were there fucking pyrotechnics at his funeral before she spoke like it was some sort of WWE event, like it was some sort of fucking celebration? Why did she immediately come out and say, I'm gonna take over Charlie's position at TPUSA? Don't you think that the overwhelming majority of people, especially if you're torn up psychologically and mentally, wouldn't you say, you know what, I'm gonna step back from the spotlight. I'm gonna have some time to mourn. I'm gonna have some time to reflect. I'm gonna have some time to rethink my life. I'm gonna have some time to get my shit together since I just lost my fucking better half. No, she immediately jumped in and said, I'm gonna take Charlie's position at TPUSA. Why are there videos that are all over social media, and they are, you can't deny it, of her crying, but it's 100% proven there are no tears. She's got the tissue, she's doing the thing, but then you zoom in, there's no tears. Why is that happening? You could yell at me for acknowledging reality, but I'm fucking acknowledging reality, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Why is she hopping in front of every camera? Why is it that she's putting herself front and center, but then getting mad when people react?
A father mentioning details that connect directly to his son's role at TPUSA, right when the public was already suspicious of how smoothly leadership shifted after Charlie's passing. Again, nothing proven, nothing confirmed, just the internet doing what the internet does. But the wildest wave of speculation came from people who noticed Erika Kirk's reaction in unrelated footage from the same week. Clips that seemed normal before suddenly looked loaded, like viewers were searching for tension between the lines. Online threads dissected her expressions, Mikey's posture, even the tone in Pastor Rob's voice, all trying to piece together whether something bigger was hiding beneath the surface. And just when you think the theories might cool down, commenters found something that made the entire timeline look even stranger. And that's where everything snowballed. If the slip from Pastor Rob was the spark, the footage people dug up afterward was the gasoline. It started with a short clip circulating on X, a moment where Mikey McKoy appears on the phone almost instantly after the incident involving Charlie. Viewers claimed it looked like he was already mid-call before the chaos even broke out. Again, nothing confirmed, nothing solid, just online detectives slowing the clip down to quarter speed and convincing themselves every frame held a secret. Then, another angle surfaced. A selfie-style video from a cameraman who happened to be nearby. Originally harmless, but once the rumor storm was rolling, people watched it with new eyes. Suddenly, his expression looked too calm, his timing too sharp, his movements a little too rehearsed. Comment sections exploded with theories that something didn't add up. Some users insisted the entire reaction sequence felt oddly synchronized, while others swore they saw Erika and Mikey exchange a look that didn't match the moment's panic. Pure speculation, but speculation spreads fast when emotions run high. And once those two clips started circulating together, the theories multiplied. Threads popped up connecting timestamps, comparing shadows, analyzing how quickly certain people reached certain locations. It became a full-on internet detective party, with everyone trying to stitch together a bigger picture from scraps. Even Pastor Rob's accidental remark took on a new meaning when placed next to the rumored footage, as if the timing of everything suddenly blended into one giant question mark. But the real turning point came when someone in the comments claimed there was a secret deal behind the scenes. And whether true or not, that rumor hit harder than anything so far. Once the clip started circulating, the comment sections didn't just speculate, they fractured into competing theories that somehow made the whole situation feel even messier. One group insisted the timing oddities hinted at an internal power struggle that had been bubbling beneath the surface for months. Another group focused on Pastor Rob's comment, claiming his phrasing sounded less like a slip and more like someone who'd been sitting on information he wasn't supposed to share publicly. And then you had people digging into old footage of Erika stepping into her expanded leadership role at TPUSA, looking for signs of tension that most viewers never noticed during the live broadcasts. At the same time, donor chatter resurfaced. Some users pointed out how quickly TPUSA tried to stabilize its public messaging during moments of internal confusion in the past, arguing that any sudden shift always triggered whispers of who's really calling the shots. Whether those rumors were ever grounded in anything real didn't matter. The timing created a perfect storm. Every clip, every reaction, every sentence from Pastor Rob, Erika, or Mikey became part of a giant digital corkboard of theories. Then came the supposed leak. Not an actual document, just a vague post from an anonymous account claiming internal disagreements about strategy had reached a boiling point. No evidence, no context, but it was enough. Commenters treated it like the missing puzzle piece, weaving it into every timeline and connecting it to every clip. In the span of a few days, a handful of unrelated moments turned into a sprawling rumor web that had people convinced something big was hiding under the surface. And just when it felt like the speculation might settle, something else sparked the next wave. Just when it looked like the internet had finally exhausted every angle, a tiny detail from an old live stream resurfaced, and that's when the rumor volcano erupted all over again. Someone clipped a moment where Erika, Mikey, and Pastor Rob appeared together at a TPUSA event months earlier. It was an entirely normal interaction at the time, but now, viewed through the fresh lens of suspicion, it suddenly looked loaded to thousands of people online. Commenters zoomed in on their expressions, claiming Erika seemed unusually guarded, Mikey oddly stiff, and Pastor Rob a bit too careful with his wording. None of it proved anything, but perception became reality inside those threads. Then a second wave hit. A behind-the-scenes staff video, harmless in its original context, got pulled apart frame by frame. Viewers swore the body language felt tense, like everyone was aware of internal friction they weren't allowed to acknowledge publicly. And because TPUSA is always under a microscope, even the slightest hint of hesitation became evidence for people itching to craft the next theory. Meanwhile, whispers about donor expectations resurfaced. Some commenters claimed big contributors were pushing for a more polished public image, which only fueled theories that the organization was scrambling behind closed doors. Others argued the rumors were nothing but political fanfiction, but by then, the narrative had already taken on its own life. What made it all snowball wasn't the clips themselves, it was the timing. A stray remark from Pastor Rob, an odd pause in an old live stream, a vague anonymous post, and a couple of shaky camera angles somehow collided into one giant internet mystery. No scandal confirmed, no wrongdoing proven, just a perfect storm of whispers that turned TPUSA's inner circle into a trending storyline. And the wildest part? The internet was still not done digging. By the end of it all, the situation didn't look like a scandal. It looked like a mirror held up to how quickly the internet can turn scattered moments into a storyline. Pastor Rob's unscripted remark, Mikey's timing in that resurfaced clip, Erika's sharper public presence, old footage repurposed with a new tone, anonymous leaks that appeared out of nowhere, none of it proved anything on its own. But when placed together, it created just enough smoke for people online to convince themselves there was a fire somewhere out of sight. And that's what made the whole saga so addictive. Viewers weren't chasing facts, they were chasing the feeling that they were uncovering something hidden. Every pause became suspicious, every glance a clue, every inconsistent detail a breadcrumb. TPUSA's inner circle suddenly felt like characters in a political thriller, even though most of what people were reacting to were fragments clipped out of context and stretched into theories. What stuck with people wasn't a confirmed story, it was the pattern, the timing, the tension, the sense that something behind the scenes wasn't as smooth as the public messaging tried to make it appear. And in a world where audiences love mystery more than clarity, that was enough to keep the conversation alive far longer than anyone inside TPUSA probably expected. So the real question isn't whether a secret existed, it's why the internet was so ready to believe one. Was it the tight-knit relationships, the leadership shifts, the donor pressure, the public slips, or just the perfect mix of timing and curiosity? Whatever the truth is, one thing became obvious. You don't need a confirmed scandal to spark a fire. You just need the right shadows,